Hi guys, it's Lathan here. The Rippaverse has just announced that they are shipping out their Trinity Volume 1. And I don't know about you, but I am very excited. Here is what Eric July, founder, owner, CEO and EIC at the Rippaverse had to say.
If you don't know what the Rippaverse Trinity is, it is our first collection. This one right here collects ISOM number 1, Alpha Core number 1, and Yaira number 1.
Aside from the fact that folks over at the Rippaverse apparently still have not decided what a collection is, this first ever collection includes some slight improvements, with ISOM number 1 having been remastered.
There has been some slight improvements on it. ISOM number 1 has been remastered. This will be the first time that you see Sebastian Chang, which is the new ISOM series colorist. Updated art from Cliff Richards. Really excited about that. Again, Sebastian Chang did a great job on this.
We know from previous announcements that this remastering process does not only include updated art by Cliff Richards, but also refined storytelling with adjustments for smoother pacing and added depth. Exactly how extensive are those adjustments? Well, we are about to find out. This collection has 310 plus pages, whatever is meant by the plus. However, the original ISOM number 1, Alpha Core number 1 and Yaira number 1 only add up to 282 pages, which means that we have another 28 plus pages that are unaccounted for. Even if some of those are taken up by ads for young ISOM or other Rippaverse items, it likely means that ISOM number 1 has been significantly padded. Perhaps Eric is taking his fans by the hand after all, to make sure there is no further confusion about the plot. But let's talk about the artwork. We have already seen glimpses of what is in store for us, and besides the new colors, we can see that Eric is having Cliff Richards replace the old 3D assets with new, with line art that no longer allows for any immediate conclusions as to its origins. For example, we have already been afforded a glimpse into Darren's new offices. Everything looks of course very similar to the way it was in the original, but you can see that the quote-unquote line art no longer follows the exact contours of the 3D model. Instead, it appears as if the assets are no longer passed through a line art filter, but have this time been, well, traced, referenced, whatever you want to call it. Oh, and of course the mysterious floating shelves from the original have been fixed as well. Another example we have seen is this building in the background. In the original, this is filtered from one of the lowest quality assets you can find on 3D Warehouse. Note how the texture does not align correctly with the underlying geometry as it wraps around the corners. These kinds of errors were shamelessly included in the original ISOM number 1, but seem to have been replaced now by more custom illustrations. What makes all of this extra juicy is of course that Eric has long denied that 3D assets were ever even used in the creation of ISOM. Here is what he had to say on the matter when he was asked during an interview with ACONS, the African American conservatives.
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's been interesting to see people float around some just really untrue stuff. And look, I get it, right? We are arguably the most hated people in comics and the most scrutinized people in comics. And people are just actively making stuff. I mean, we could go back to the lawsuit for that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just people just saying things that it seems as if they're purposely trying to float things out there that are not true. Obviously just to try to damage the reputation of the company. But the thing that I don't like it is that, you know, it's a disrespect to our artists. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and say like Cliff hasn't eyeballed something and as like a reference point, but every artist does that. To be fair, I just don't like the idea that Cliff has been a professional for a very long time. Same could be said for Joe, but it wasn't until they started working with us that there was all of a sudden these conspiracies and issues.
Yeah.
Later, Eric backpedaled somewhat. In a bizarre video entitled "My 3D Assets," he talked about certain background elements being referenced and or traced.
Contrary to some people's idiotic beliefs, I'm not the artist of ISOM. I'm the creator and the writer. The artist's name is Cliff Richards, and he's an industry veteran. The word that non-playable characters got in a recent update is 3D assets. This is in reference to certain background elements in ISOM being referenced and or traced.
He continued to liken the art of Cliff Richards to the works done by Neil Adams and the process of lightboxing. Given that there was apparently nothing wrong with Cliff Richards' art to begin with, it does seem a little odd that Eric is having him rework the original illustrations. But my favorite glimpse of what's to come has to be the iconic ISOM couch. Famously, this couch appears in both Avery's as well as Altona's living room. It also comes with perfectly octagonal armrests. Of course, it is not actually standing in both living rooms, but rather both living rooms are completely identical. Cliff Richards took a completely furnished 3D asset house and was apparently too lazy to find something different for the two characters. In the remastered version, the couch does still appear, but can you imagine my surprise when I was looking for that favorite detail of mine? Apparently, the couch not only has the capacity to stand in multiple places at the same time, but it also has the ability to change the shape of its armrests from one panel to the next. And lest you think that one of those images is from Altona's living room and the other one is Avery's, fortunately I have the original pages handy that clearly show that both panels belong to the very same scene. I must say that I am really tempted to get myself a copy of Trinity Volume 1, but I already have Alpha Core and Yaira. To pay another $45 just to get the remastered version of ISOM number 1 seems very, very steep. Just in case you are among the people who have ordered this fine book and you are eager to join the treasure hunt, you might want to check out my 3D Asset Master thread over on X. You can find the link down in the video description. And before I sign off, I think it would be fair to give Eric the final word.
Look, it is what it is. But shout out to Cliff. I love him to death. His work on ISOM 3, I mean, he's improving book to book, man. I can't wait for people to see what some of the cool pages it is that he drew up for ISOM 3.